bet you thought I was done talking about video games. Well, guess what, you stupid little idiot? That's what this whole channel is based around. We're trophy hunters. We're hunting for that platinum trophy. But who won? It was me. I won with an entire 6 that I got before we realized that maybe we don't want to get a platinum trophy every video because it's very, very difficult. I don't know how people do it. Sorry. No games were had today. Last year for Halloween, I talked about Amnesia, which is one of the greatest horror games of all time. It is... I wish I want to kiss that game on the lips. I want to... And I wanted this year to do something similar and talk about another horror game, and unfortunately I was heavily disappointed by my journey. And I know it's going to be in very unpopular opinion, but I will make my case to defend it. But if you want to talk about old games, sometimes you have to face the gators under the bed. And I have to say what I am unfortunately about to say. Resident Evil wasn't always a third-person action survival horror game. It was back in the 90s. They couldn't just make a massive open world to experience and explore. The hardware was limited, and I mean, Jesus, we didn't even have analog sticks yet. It was you controlled everything with the D-pad. It's called tank controls. It's a whole other can of worms. Because of the setbacks of the hardware, the director of the game, Shinji Mikami, which I hope I am pronouncing correctly, hatched an idea to, instead of having the camera follow the player, i.e. Silent Hill 2, as Silent Hill 2 was not even a concept yet, he would instead have the camera fixed on one location, and it only moves when you go to a separate part of the room, or like upstairs or something. And it was revolutionary and incredibly hard to control. I almost became a Jill sandwich about 40 times because I just couldn't figure out the controls yet. And that's by design. It's meant to be frustrating and hard to control because it, quote, makes the player more helpless and therefore creating more horror for themselves. Which that's true in a way. However, I think the director is a little delusional for thinking that this game wouldn't be good with modern day controls and an actual camera that follows the player. I think he's doing a disservice to the world and video games as a whole by refusing to remake Resident Evil in the same vein of the Resident Evil 2 remake that is just like Resident Evil 4, but is the second one.
Wait a second! You get back here, little lady! Where'd she go?
Like, I understand it, and I respect his creative vision. I totally understand, and I respect it. However, tell me why in the fuck Resident Evil Nemesis deserves a remake and Resident Evil 1 doesn't. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, you insane old man? And it sucks because under all the shitty controls and game mechanics, while the game isn't as scary as it once was. Why are you looking at me like that? Is something behind me? Oh, Jesus, fuck! Yeah, maybe it's still a little scary sometimes. Resident Evil follows staples of the series, Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield. And of course, whose goddamn white baby is this? That's supposed to be Wesker. He doesn't look intimidating. He looks like he's about to ask me if he can give me his lunch money before I have the chance to bully him. Anyway, he just kind of fucks off for most of the game, and the game follows Chris and Jill navigating this wacky-ass sex dungeon of a mansion with twists and turns and booby traps, and it's like, who the hell wants a mansion like this? Like who do you think you are, Dr. No? Why would you need booby traps and fucking random-ass puzzles to open doors? Why would you have this? I don't care if the owner of this mansion created the Z virus. Why he need shark enemy? Answer, he don't. And why the fuck does this mansion have a killer plant that you need to give pesticides to kill it in order to get a helmet key? What is the point of any of this? What kind of paranoid maniac needs all these puzzles in his house? Why do I have to fucking push a statue off a ledge in order to get a blue crystal that I can then put into the eye of a statue of a tiger to get an eye? Why would you want that for your own use? Like, what? What purpose is this? But to be fair, every Resident Evil game and most survival horror games have puzzles like this. They're just there to keep the player entertained and make them use their critical thinking skills, which, fair enough. I mean, Silent Hill 2 has puzzles like this, but that's a video for a different day. Most survival horror games have these weird puzzles that in reality don't make all that much sense, and it's kind of best just to not question them, because they're there to make you think, and that's the fucking point of puzzles. It is worth noting Resident Evil does have an HD remake on the PS4, and it does fix a lot of my issues with the original Resident Evil. It does not fix all of them. The voice acting is revamped. Some cutscenes are changed, entirely. There's sadly, however, no mention of Jill sandwiches, which is not the most ideal, because that's the best line in any video game ever.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
The mansion itself has a slightly different layout with slightly different puzzles, to my knowledge. I could be talking out of my ass there, but I'm not researching it. Fuck you. And most importantly, the movement is done with the analog sticks this time, instead of having regular old tank controls, which did save me a lot of headaches. While you still can use the classic tank controls with the D-pad, it's so much nicer being able to have fluid motion in this game that severely lacks in fluid motion. Static cam is still there and it's still janky as fuck. There's not much we can do about that one. And luckily, one of the things that I actually did really like about the original is still in the game, and that features the door opening loading screen. I know most people these days don't want to see a loading screen. They look at a loading screen and they're like, wow, what the freaky hell is that? But I actually really like the loading screens in the first couple Resident Evil games. It makes you feel immersed in this world, having us open the doors with the characters, which makes it feel like we're all experiencing this mansion and its fucked up twists and turns together. And I think that's neat. The mansion also has more ambiance, since they were able to make it with a newer game engine. There's proper lighting that's actually darker, and sometimes there's chandeliers that swing and make the lighting change in a location, depending on where it's swinging. And I think that's really cool. I think that adds a lot to the horror element that I feel like the original game is lacking a little bit. The dogs jump through the windows on the second run through the hallway instead of the first one, which totally caught me off guard in this one. I was expecting them to just jump right through. They did not. It's the second run. If you're gonna play Resident Evil, the HD remaster is for sure the best way to go about it. That being said, I played the OG version so I could be as authentic as possible. I also only played through Jill's half because I didn't want to play this game for 20 hours. Because Jill played through only 8 hours, 8 minutes in game time. Normal difficulty, Chris. I've played a lot of horror games in my life. Some better than others. There is one game, however, that does horror and atmosphere much better than Resident Evil. And I'll give you a hint, it's also a staple of the survival horror genre. The game I'm of course talking about is Redneck Farmers Racing Tournament on the Nintendo DS. And I will say, a lot of the horror in Resident Evil just doesn't translate that well 28 years later, whereas the original Silent Hill games, which have a similar style, camera, but it's actually it follows the protagonist a little bit instead of just being a straight static cam, if that makes sense, are still scary to this day, even with the dated graphics. Side note, Silent Hill 2 does actually have a Resident Evil 4 type camera, but only when you're in the buildings, and it's still kind of a static cam. You can't move it around with the analog stick, as the analog stick was still not a thing. I mean, it was, but not in this game, it wasn't. Which makes it, way easier to move around. I think the point I'm trying to make in this video is, while I understand the Resident Evil director said this was the correct way to play the game, and I respect him for not selling out and just saying, yeah, sure, remake my game, I don't give a shit.
Okay, wow, well, what are we thinking, Timothy Chalamet as young Adolf? Oh, my god.
But at the same time, I personally feel that it is doing gaming as a whole a disservice by refusing said Resi 4 style remake, because it's not fun to play these games now, especially when Resident Evil 2 got the Resident Evil 4 treatment, and it's a little ridiculous that Resident Evil Nemesis got a remake just in general, and this is still the only way to play Resident Evil. And I'm not saying Nemesis is a bad game, but it's just one of the most forgettable in the Resident Evil franchise. Fucking throw it up there with Resident Evil 6 and fucking Operation Raccoon City, which is a game that I own. Whereas the first two Resident Evil games are arguably the most popular. They're the reason Resident Evil is a franchise to begin with, and they're the reason Resident Evil is still in the eye of most players almost 30 years later. And I hope this video doesn't portray me as someone who hates the original, because it is a good game. It has a great story. The mansion is one of my favorite places in any video game. The cheesy ass dialogue amounts for some of the biggest laughs you will ever have in any game, but it could be better, and it could benefit from that third-person cam remake like they did with Resi 2. And like the other game most people associate with the survival horror genre, that being Silent Hill 2, which also got a Resident Evil 4 style remake. If you like this video, consider leaving a like, comment in the comments down below, subscribe, hit that little bell, all that good stuff. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.